Hi there and welcome to this Beard Clipper video. This video is all about making cardboard terrain and specifically cardboard hills. Now I was in a conversation on Discord and one of the other guys was talking about not being able to get hold of XPS, which as we know is the very common material to use to make hills. And so I thought I'd have a go and play around with an idea I had for making hills purely out of cardboard. And it expanded into making 3 types of hills 3 ways out of cardboard, and the results are absolutely fantastic. So I really hope that this is inspiring and useful for you. I'm not particularly claiming to have invented this technique. I'm pretty sure I saw it somewhere. I'm almost certain it's quite common in the model railway world, and I can tell you what, I am going to be using this technique for my hills in the model railway that I'm making. XPS will be used in some places, but I'm definitely going to use this. So yeah, I'm not trying to claim that I originated it, and if someone out there did and knows who did, then pop a comment, that'd be awesome. But I did enjoy this little experiment and making these to show you how to do it and hopefully to inspire you if you're struggling for materials that you can still make really awesome looking terrain even if you're not able to get the traditional materials. And finally, to add, this will be the first in a short series, so yeah, there will be some other ones coming up. I'm already building a house entirely out of cardboard and have several other ideas for things that can be built just using cardboard. And if you have anything to suggest, pop them in the comments below and I'll be very happy to give it a go. So thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think. I'll see you again at the end. Well, after the failure of my Castillo de San Marcos, which was only a few days ago, I've been left with this big stack of cardboard that I was just going to put back up into storage because I don't like wasting things. I've just been having an interesting chat with a new member of the TCU Discord called Your Old Memes, new to the hobby, who is struggling to get hold of thick XPS where he lives, which is a completely fair enough problem to have. A lot of people have trouble getting hold of materials. I can get that easily, but I can't get foam core. So you know, there's all sorts of different places have different eases of finding different materials. And so I was chatting away and I suggested the idea of making a hill entirely out of cardboard and using the technique that I used for the Castillo, which worked really well. It's just, yeah, I made mistakes and what have you. So it was a really good learning process. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to do that. So here we are. I'm going to take the materials you see here and some screwed up paper and make some papier mache. So I'm not even going to make use of my modelling compound. So just toilet paper and glue. And I'm going to make myself a hill using cardboard and paper and glue and nothing else. So let's get to it. I'm going to pull out some of these bits of cardboard. I think there's some larger bits that I can use for a base. Then I'm going to work out how I'm going to do the cutting. So for example, there's a good looking base, cool. Gonna be able to make use of these pieces here, these long thin pieces to make the to make the cross pieces, and I'm going to use the same technique as I did for the Castillo. So I will have ribs, basically make ribs and put them across, so it'll end up being a really strong structure. Fill the gaps with screwed up cardboard, which is also screwed up paper. So over here, whenever I receive things, I often get screwed up paper as a filling material, and I save that for this use actually, for filling gaps, and then it'll be toilet paper over the top. So let's get cracking and see how quickly I can do this and how soon I can get this video out to help this guy and help anyone else out there who may be thinking, well, I can't get foam. And this guy had picked up floral foam, which I have a big issue with. It's got formaldehyde in it, I believe. It's nasty, it crumbles, it is not stable. So while it might look stable now, it will just fall apart over the years unless you absolutely soak it with PVA. I have heard people having success with it in that way, but I would just rather no one ever bought that stuff ever, not even for flower arranging, because you know, the dust is very nasty. It's really, really poisonous as far as I'm aware. So yeah, let's get this in there. Let's have a look and see how this works. I hope this is an enjoyable craft to watch, enjoyable build to watch, and maybe inspiring. Okay, so I've got my bit of cardboard, and what I'm doing now is I've drawn on a kidney shape to which is going to be the extent of my hill, and so that's basically going to be how where my cross pieces are going to go. So what I'll then do is we will then work out this rough. I mean, this is just obviously rough. It's not a. I'm not doing this as a exact. This is just to give me an idea, because what I can then do is come along with my ruler and draw some lines. This is where my cross pieces are going to go, and then I can measure those, and then I can cut the strips to these lengths. And then when I've done that, I can work out the contours, because this is going to be relatively simple. I'm only going to need to do this many cross members. I'm not going to need to do lots and lots and lots of different heights. I'm going to need to cut a length, this length, this length, this length, and then do the contour that I want, and then do the cross pieces and work out where the contour is. So measure how far in it is and measure the height at that. There's going to be a little bit of measuring, well, a lot of measuring and a little bit of maths, but that's the plan. So the first thing is to put these cross pieces in and then measure them and then cut them, and then I'll do the down pieces, measure them and cut them, and then I'll stick them in place. So let's get this done. I should say that I'm aware that not everyone will want to have a smooth hill like I'm doing here, and this technique should be possible to do a stepped hill using this technique as well, and maybe I'll give it a try at some point, but I'm just going to explore the idea on this build. So I might do the stepped hill. This is not the right ruler. I might do the stepped hill in another video. Yeah, that's better. Right, so I'll get this done, get these widths measured up, lengths measured up, and get those cut, and then I'll bring you back for the next step when I get to it. As you can see, I've got my measurements on, and also found the correct ruler to use for this technique. So these are the lengths of these cross pieces that I'm going to need to cut. So I'll get those cut out now, and then what I'll do, the way I'll work it is I will look at the contour. I'm thinking that I might do a bit of a cliff as well, just to show how that can work. So have a steeper side and a shallower side. That's quite often how I do my hills, to be honest. So yeah, the next thing to do is get my cardboard and cut these to size. Now I am deliberately, and this is, as I say, offcut from another project, using it so that you've got if you're doing the corrugated, so the corrugations are going up, because obviously, as you can see, that bends, but you have good compression in that way, so that will make it more rigid, so it will sit on like that. So I'm going to take these measurements, measure them off, cut them. The one thing I do want to say, as this is a bit of a beginner video, and hopefully it's going to inspire people to get into doing things with cardboard, the one thing that I would highly recommend that you invest in, and I have several of these, is a safety ruler. So this was the first safety ruler I bought, which is okay, but these ones here from Victor Cutting Edge are just the bomb. They are probably the best thing I've ever bought. I have several of them at different lengths, and you can see that they're just going to keep your hand very safe. You're not going to, if you slip, you're not going to cut anything. You've got a really large handle to hold on to keep it secure, and it's got this cloth underside, which means it doesn't slip. So you get really good accurate cuts very safely, and you're not going to hurt yourself. As I say, this is okay. It's going to keep you safe, but it moves around a lot more. It's not as easy to keep still. I highly recommend. They're not cheap, but they're a really, really good investment. They might not be cheap, but your fingers, you've only got one of them. So yeah, they're a really good investment. Anyway, so I'm going to make use of my cutting, my safety ruler, and I will cut out just at this height for now. I don't think I'm going to be going any taller than 10 centimeters, which is what that is. The middle one will be 10 centimeters, otherwise the contour would just be too steep and it would end up not being able to stand any miniatures on it at all. So I'm just going to cut from 10 centimeter high cardboard, each of these lengths, and then I will bring you back and show you how I'm going to go about working out the contours. Right, so I've cut out all these cross members, and then I've basically changed my mind, which does happen quite a lot. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'm not going to have as many cross pieces. It's going to be fiddly to fill things in. It's just not necessary. So I'm going to keep number 4, number 6 and number 2. So we're going to throw away number 7. Number 6 can go there. Throw down number 5. Number 4 will go there. And I mean, they're still quite close together, so it's going to be strong. Throw away number 3, and then number 2 can go there. So the next thing I'm going to do is I've drawn all these cross pieces in here, but I think actually that's probably too many as well. What I might do is just have one here and one here, so just do 2 going across that way. So I'll measure that up. What I'll then do as well is measure this distance so I can get the measure this distance so I know where on each cross piece my the rib this way is going to come. So that's something I need to do, and then I'm going to cut those out. So whether I do this one and this one, or whether I do this one and this one, I'm not sure. I'll have a little bit of play around. But I did just want to point out as well that I've kept this tab on the bottom. The tab on the bottom is very useful because what we're going to end up doing is using that to stick this down to our cardboard. So we will cut tabs like this, bend one way, one the other, and then glue it down, and that will hold it really securely upright. And particularly when you've got the cross pieces as well, it's going to be really secure. So there we are, a change of mind already, and I've not even started on the project, but I think it's a very wise change of mind to have really that we don't have so many ribs that it's going to be really difficult to fit everything in. So yeah, let's get some measuring, make some decisions onto which of the vertical ones I'm going to have, get those cut out, and then I'll bring you back and show you how we're actually going to get the contour in correctly and then stick it down to the base. Right, so progress has been made. I'm going to show you what I've done. So we have 3 horizontals and 3 verticals. Horizontals are 2, 4, 6, verticals are A, B, C. What I've done is I've worked out with the horizontals a contour. This is 4, so this is going to be the one that sits in the middle. This is 6, this is one at the bottom, and this is 2, so this is one at the top. And I've drawn the contour roughly that I'm going to have on there. I've then offered that up and worked it out and measured across. This is C, so this is this one here, and I've marked where on this it's going to go across the vertical, where it's going to cross the vertical, and I've also marked the height of the vertical at that point, so that's going to need to be kind of like drawn across and marked out. The stage I'm at now is I'm getting close to actually gluing down my horizontal, so I'm going to need to cut out this slope here. You can see that we're going to end up with a bit of a cliff at one end, which is cool. But the thing that I wanted to show you, and I've just done one here as a practice, is how I go about doing the tabs. So the idea for the tabs is that they bend down and give and actually support the support this upright. So I do them angled so that they are a little bit easier to work around when you've got the horizontal and the vertical crossing each other. If you've got them angled, they're not going to get in the way as much, and you'll see what I mean when I come to that stage. But we basically just use a knife or scissors or whatever you prefer to cut out these tabs like so. So I'll get that done. There we are. And then we bend, so we do one forwards, one back, one forwards. In this case, this is 2. So this now is going to be able to sit there, and I can put glue on the bottom of these, weight it down, and it's relatively upright, as you can see, even without me having put the verticals in. And when the verticals are slotted in, it will be very secure indeed. So I'm going to continue doing that. I'll cut out number 6. I'll cut these contours out. And once I've got to that stage, I'll show you how I'm going to go about doing the slots, and then we'll glue them in place. We'll have to leave it for a little bit, and then we'll come and do the verticals. But this isn't far off needing the filler stage. This is proven to be quite efficient. Right, so next step is the working out how these crosses are going to go. So this is going to be the bottom part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a mark halfway up at 35mm there. On this one is about 50, so about a 2.5. And this one is 3.5, so 175. So we're going to put those marks in there, and then taking my knife, I'm going to slice out the slot for either side of those of the centre line and remove that section. And that will be how the vertical, when I come along, will interface with this horizontal piece. Simple as that. There we are. Do the same here. Slice, slice, like so. It actually can sometimes be easy to do this with scissors. I just don't have any scissors on me at the moment. And then last but not least, this one here. So that's how the, as I said, that's how the crossing is going to be achieved. So I'm going to get that done on the other one, and then we'll get these glued in place. And we're going to glue them in place. I'm going to glue them in place. You can use PVA. I'm going to use Copydex because it's just a little bit more grabby. So yeah, bring it back in a second for the gluing. All right, now we get to the fun part. So I'm going to take my glue. I do love Copydex. I've really gotten into it. That's way too much. Yeah, so get some Copydex, slap it on, and then line it up. And it does grab really quickly, Copydex. I think it's rubber based. I think that's why it stinks so badly. So once you've got it really compressed in, it's going to hold. There we are. That's our first bit in there. So it's going to hold that down a bit more. So I'll get that same technique for the other two horizontals, and then leave it probably an hour, hour and a half, something like that. I'll come back to it a bit later on, and then we'll start to get the verticals in place, and then we can start to stuff the holes and cover it in toilet paper, which is what I'm most excited about. Right, so now I'm working on the last bits of this, which, as you can see, I've got two of the cross pieces in, or the verticals in, and now I'm going to do the last one. So I've marked in where the contour needs to be, and I'm just going to join those lines smoothly and then cut it out using my sharp knife, just freehand, because this is just the initial support. So if it's not perfect, it doesn't matter, because we're going to be building up over the top of this as well, obviously. So that's going to go over here. What we now do is do our measuring so that we can get our slots for fitting it, and that is going to mean that we're going to cut the bottom half out. So we're going to have a mark there, we're going to have a mark there, and we're going to have a mark there. Before we cut those out, I'm going to do the same thing with the tabs. Nice and simple. Just slice them out at an angle like this. There we are. And now we can cut these central slots out. And here we have our middle rib. So we're going to alternate where those folds go, and you can slide that on down, and there we have our basic, this one's not wanting to stay in, but it'll be alright when it's glued. There we have our basic layout of our hill, which is looking pretty cool actually. So what I'm now going to do is come along once again with the glue, and I'll get these put in place and then let it set again. Oh, turn it around. So I know which direction these go because I'm pointing, because I've written on each of these ribs, and the words need to be to the left and to the bottom, and that's how I remember the orientation of these shapes. So just get those glued in. and then we'll leave it. And then a bit later on, we'll come and start filling and papier macheing, which is the thing which is going to take the time. As you can see, this is very quick. And also you can see why I did the angles with the tabs, because they now mesh nicely. Don't get in each other's way. That was a lesson learned the hard way. Alright, let's get this in and held down correctly. This is the one that keeps wanting to pop out for some reason. And there we are. Cool. Right, so I'll let that all go off and then come back later and we'll fill the middles with screwed up paper and masking tape, which is how you use it. So I'll show you how that works. And then we'll just get, this one's nearly run out, so we use it quite a lot. I have the cheapest toilet roll you can buy, and I'll cover over the top of that papier mache, maybe 4 or 6 layers, and then we'll have a hill. Nearly done. Alright, so that's really secure now, as you can see, and strong. You can literally, that's a lot of my pressure going onto that, and that is not going anywhere. It is super strong, which is a benefit of this technique. What I've got here is some packing material. That just came in something I ordered, I'm not totally sure what. And it's going to be a bit noisy, so I won't do much of it with filming, but basically what you're going to do, screw it up and pack it in. Tear a strip, screw it up and pack it in. And you can see that that is then going to mean that when I'm coming to do my papier mache, it's not going to be taking as much material, which is what the point of this is. I think I stole this idea from model railway builders. Certainly that was why I've saved all this and what I'm going to be using it for. You can see just how quick this is as well. So sorry about all the crunching and rattling, but it's so quick, I'm just going to film it all and chatter while I'm doing it. So you literally are looking at filling in the gaps that you've got like this. The easiest ones are the ones where you've got a surround. It's a bit harder to do these ones, but you just need to tear up smaller bits. And if you're a little bit unsure about it staying, let me just grab some masking tape. And you can just use masking tape to kind of hold it in place, like so. If it will hold. This is the rubbish masking tape that's not very sticky. So get sticky masking tape and that will work. So yeah, we're just going to fill all of this gap in. Battery's going in my camera, so I might have to change that shortly. And I might actually need a little bit more packing material. So I may stop the clip here now, because I need to change my battery anyway, and bob up and get some more of this. But you can see the technique, you can understand the point. I will be back very shortly to show what it looks like when it's when this stage is done, and then I've got a big pile of toilet paper which I'm going to start to put over the top. Well, there we are. So you can put more masking tape over if you want. I'm just getting annoyed with this masking tape because it keeps pulling away. It's not very sticky. It's cheap masking tape, but that's not the worst thing in the world to have cheap masking tape on a project like this. So what we're going to do now is, I have my PVA glue, I have my toilet roll, and what we're going to do is we're going to start laying the toilet roll over the top. Now, I don't know if I'm teaching people to suck eggs here, but papier mache is super, super easy. So what you do is you start putting your toilet roll on, and you get it kind of soaked in PVA, and it's a a process involving some patience, which makes it a challenge for me because I'm quite impatient. This stage I'm going to use big sheets. Later on I'll probably have to go to thinner sheets. But what we're doing is basically building up a layer of PVA with paper, and then put another layer over the top of it, put some PVA and water on it, another layer on the top of it, PVA and water on it, rinse and repeat. And this is the slow part of this process, particularly this first bit where you're trying to get your first layer on. PVA obviously does also reactivate, so yeah, just be patient here basically. Get your first layer on, and then potentially you can build up any holes like this. You can build up with either more screwed up cardboard and put another and do it in multiple steps. I probably will not do that. I'm going to see how it goes basically. And what I'll probably do is roll the camera every now and then, so not for the whole of it, but if there's an interesting stage or something going on, then I'll roll the camera. But basically just to show you, you're going to do it like this, and once you've got a couple of layers, let it dry, which is what takes time, particularly in winter over here because it's cold. So I might take this down and put it near the fire to dry, and then once it's dry and you've got a little bit of a progress on that, then you can put more paper down, more toilet paper down. So yeah, simple as that. Just takes a bit of time. So I'm gonna turn the camera off now and put another YouTube video on that I'm just watching, model railway one as it happens, and I will be back when I've got something more to show you. We're going to get there. It's going to take time, but I'll bring you back when I've done, probably when I'm onto the second level. So once I've got the whole of this done, I'll show you what it looks like, and then when it's dried, I'll come back as well. Well, there we are. That took me probably half an hour, maybe, something like that. Maybe not even half an hour. And that's enough for now. I'm going to take that downstairs now. I've got the fire lit. Going to go and watch film, relax with the puppies, and stop fiddling with it. But I'm pretty happy with how it's looking. There's a couple of points where I've got an issue. It collapsed a little bit over here, as you can see, and here. Now, what I'm going to do, I've tried to solve it, but it's not possible while it's wet. So I'm going to wait for that to dry, and then what I'm about to do is actually ball up some of the paper, dip it in glue, and put it in like that. And then once that's dry, then that will support the weight, and I'll be able to fill those two little spots in there and maybe a little bit here. What I probably should have done is a little bit more of the masking tape up here, but it'll be okay. It's this is supposed to be the cliff area, so I don't mind it having a few angles and a little bit odd. The access is okay. It's a bit steep, but it's okay. Your miniatures are going to fall down on some of it, but I think there is a way of getting up, particularly if I smooth that a little bit further as well, maybe smooth that also. But I'm happy enough with it. This is the first time I've tried this technique. I'm trying it for new as well as, yeah, I'm not saying I've done this before. So yeah, I'm going to be learning while I'm filming. But I think this is going to look really good. And as someone said on one of the Discords, it's going to be really light as well, which is nice. It'll be easy to store and easy to transport. So going to pop this somewhere in a warm room to dry overnight, and then I'll be back next time I work on this. I'll turn the camera on and show you what it looks like when it's dry, and then we'll get another layer of the toilet paper on there. Well, this is the state of play the next morning. I did sit this down relatively near the fire downstairs, and parts of it are hard, as you can see, and parts of it are still standing with PVA. So I haven't got time right now. I could put another layer on right now, but I haven't got time. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set this in front of the fire down up here in my office, which I've had to light because it's chilly and damp here. And then a bit later on, when I get a bit of time, I'll come and do another coat, and I'll show you what it looks like when I've done that. I've also clamped this to a board. It was starting to warp a little bit. I did hope that potentially it wouldn't because it's such a big area, but it was. When I finish this, I will be cutting out like around here, won't be keeping it square. So where I'm clamping, will not be covered with any material at all, so that's my usual way of preventing warping. So yeah, so I'm just going to leave it on that, and it's stable. As you can see, I've got the four corners all at the same level, so it actually makes it a little bit easier to move around as well. So yeah, get this stuck in front of the fire for an hour or two while I do a few other bits and pieces, and then I'll be back later to get another coat of the toilet paper on. But as you can see, it's already hardening up in places really nicely. It's definitely not thick enough yet. It needs at least two, if not three more layers to go over the whole thing before it's going to be hard enough to for playing on. Right then, I've done a couple more coats and it's really starting to come along now. It's still a bit damp, a bit soft in places, but you can see it's getting quite a nice hard shell. I'll decide tomorrow when I wake up whether I'm going to do another coat of the toilet paper. I might do, but I'm really pleased with how it's looking. It's a really nice organic shape, much more organic than I've achieved in the past with other techniques, so really happy with that. Yeah, it's been a bit slow, as I've said. It's not as quick as going with modelling compound at XPS, but it's looking great. I'm very happy with it. Once this is to a good level, I'll start to paint it and put texture on it. So probably the next time you see this is just before I do the texture, and when I start doing that, and I'll tell you whether I've done any more layers of the toilet paper. But yeah, pretty happy with how this is going. I'm really happy to have given this technique a try. Alright, so I have left this to completely dry, and it's yeah, it seems like it's okay actually. I don't think I need another coat of Papier Mache on top of it. So now we're going to go for the next step. So I've got what I call scenic glue. There is a video in the description of every single one of my videos actually showing how I make this, but it is just PVA or wood glue mixed up with some water and some washing up liquid or dish soap. And this here is builder's sand, which I have sieved and sifted to get it down to be quite small. And what I'm going to do, simple as this, is paint some more PVA on over the top, like so, and then I'm going to throw sand on it. And what this will do is it will give some texture, and it will also provide a little bit more strengthening. So it will take a little bit of time to do this because it's quite a large project, but all you do is you do that, leave it a couple of seconds, and if I can get this in shot, yes, come along and tip it off. Literally takes that long, and then we'll put that back down, and you can see the sand has stuck, if you can see, with the high contrast with the sunny day we've got today. So I'm going to do that over the whole of it now, cover everything with sand. I'm not going to do the vertical faces that I've left in for the cliffs because I don't want to have those looking sandy, so I'm not going to put it on here, here and here, but I'm going to put everything else is going to have some of this sand put on it, and then when that's dried I will come back with the same glue, paint over the top of it entirely again. That will seal it in, make it very strong, and then I can start painting it and putting grass on it. So yeah, really pleased with how it's looking, and this is the step that makes it turns it from looking like not very much into a hill. I've just sealed this with some PVA, and as you can see it's run down and pooled a little bit. And what you can do if you find it pooling is just come along with a kitchen towel and soak it up, just like that. It's not the end of the world. You can just put it in the sun and it will dry, and it will dry clear. But yeah, if you're finding that it's pooling a little bit, like for example there's actually a little bit there that's pooled, you can just dip in there with your paper towel and take that pooling away, just to keep it a bit tidier and cleaner. But I will now just leave this here for a little while. I'm going to have to move it around a couple of times as the sun moves, but it'll dry it really quickly in the sun, and that will be rock solid, really hard now, and then I can paint it. So hopefully it will get dried quickly and I can start painting it today, because I'm enjoying this project and I want to see it done. I'm actually thinking about starting a second one. I've got an idea for a second one, so I might actually start a second one now. So I've got materials together for the next one, and the reason why I'm doing the next one is I want to do it with some bark for the cliffs rather than using just the plain papier mache. So I'm not going to go over all the things that you've just seen in the first build, so I will get the base done and I will work out the, I won't refilm things I've done before, but what I'll show you is how I make use of bark, and it really is a cracking little technique. I've got some good pieces here. I'm thinking this one is a particularly good one. It's got a nice shape to it, and some good texture. So I'm thinking that I will have that at one end and then have a smooth kind of leading up to it cliff at the end, so kind of a smooth hill leading up to a cliff, and maybe a couple of smaller cliffs on it as well. Try and show off a little bit how I go about doing that. So as I said, I'll do most of this without showing you all of the repeated stuff, and if there's something new for this particular one, then I'll pop the camera on and we'll get it to the same stage, and then we'll paint them all at the same time. So yeah, let's get stuck in, work out roughly what size it needs to be, start building up those ribs, and then I'll bring you back when I come to doing the actual bark work, I think. As you can see, I've got the framework in, and what I'm now looking at doing is attaching my my bark. So I've put a couple of little tabs on here. These are just waste offcuts, and what I'm going to do is stick the bark on to these tabs, which is going to be a little bit faffy, but I think it's going to be okay. So we're basically going to try and do it something like that, and then I will build up to that with screwed up paper and what have you in the same way. So let's see if I can do this on camera. If I can't, then I'll give up and do it off camera, but I'll try and do it on camera. So we're going to slap some of the glue on. We're going to have some clips easily to hand, because you can never have too many clamps, and the first thing that's going to happen here is I'm going to clamp in place this bottom one. This is going to be a bit fiddly. That's that one on there. So now we'll push this in and we'll clamp this one. This isn't the easiest thing in the world, to be honest. Yeah, actually, I'm going to clamp that next one there, that one. That one's going to be the next one to clamp. And that should hold it. There we are, those two hold it, which then is going to make it easier for me to come along and clamp that one in place. And last but very much not least, the most difficult one, because it's at an angle, clamp that. There we are. So the bark is now in place, and I will now let all of that go off. I've literally just done this all in one go, and it worked really, really well. You can see I've got a nice slope coming up here. I've got the scope to put some more cliff around here potentially, which I might do. But I'm going to let what I've got dry, go off, and then I'll have a look and see whether, like I say, I want to potentially do the bluff continuing around here. I'm really liking how we've got this overhang. I think it's going to be really fun doing that, and making that into a little bit of a, I might put some more cliff underneath here, but like I say, just going to leave what I've got now, let that all set, and then maybe put some more bark here and some more bark underneath here. We shall see. But for now, oh, you couldn't really see that, I didn't have it, yeah, so I'm going to look and see putting the bark under here potentially, or under here and under here. That's what I was saying. Sorry, bad camera work. I'm getting too excited about the actual build. Right, onwards. Oh, you can see I've got quite a lot of bark going on around here, and I've also managed to finish the packing. So I'm now about to start putting on my toilet paper, first layer of toilet paper over the whole of this, and also fill in some of the gaps that I've got. It's going to be interesting to see how well this works. I normally do this with modelling compound, which is which is going to be a bit easier, because you can actually wodge it in there and wad it up and fill in gaps a bit easier. But it'd be fun to do this with the toilet paper. So I will get that done, and I'll report back on how easy I find it. And yeah, but I'm pretty pleased with the shape. I'm pretty excited to see what it looks like when it's done. The next stage is, let's paint it black. So I've just got black house paint here. I do sometimes mix house paint with PVA, but in this case I'm just doing it as straight black house paint, and I'm just slapping that over the whole lot. So sand, no sand, don't care. Just going to paint it all, and this is going to give us an undercoat, which we'll then be able to bring up with other paints once it's dried. So I'm going to get this done, leave it to dry, and then when we come to the next step, I will of course bring you along and show you what we do. But yeah, nice quick slap or single coat of black paint. I just finished putting the third or fourth layer of Papier Mache, toilet paper and glue on this, and yeah, it's coming on nicely. It's not going to be the last one. At the very least, if I turn it around, I'm going to have to do a little bit more on these little sections here, which that one is literally soft, and I need to make that a little bit smoother. So yeah, there's still a little bits of stuff to be done after this one, but I think that the main part is going to be okay now. So yeah, that has worked out really nicely, and I think it looks like a really interesting hill. Hopefully it'll be fun to play on, and hopefully it'll be hard wearing enough, which is also obviously a challenge. Now I've had an idea of a third style of hill, so I will start that next and show you that one, which is going to be potentially slightly easier to work on. Not sure whether I'll do bark on that one or not. I might do, I might not, I'll work it out. But yeah, once I've got this to a stage where I can put it on to start painting and doing the sand, then I will then I will start my third style of hill. This is turning into quite the project. Alright, so we have a really nice low hill here, as you can see. And now I'm going to try a different technique. So rather than stuffing these gaps, and what I want to make clear is I've made this much smaller honeycomb than the others where I was stuffing the gaps. What I've got is some masking tape, and I'm going to do something a bit different, which is I'm going to stick masking tape over it, like so, and make the contours with masking tape rather than doing it with stuff in the middle. So I think this should end up with a slightly smoother result. I'm not sure. We'll find out. And what you'll notice is I'm going to do crossways here, and then I'm going to put lengthways, and then I'll do some more crossways. So I'll fill it in. By the end of this, the whole of this will be covered with masking tape. There won't be any gaps. But yeah, I'm just well, I'm making this up. I've not seen anyone do this. I know that it isn't a totally original idea. I'm pretty sure it's not anyway. It doesn't feel like it should be an original idea, but it's certainly something I've not seen. So if anyone can tell me if someone else has done this before, that would be awesome. I don't want to take credit for it as such, but I certainly haven't seen it myself. And I think that's going to be quite nice. Oh, that was silly, wasn't it? Come on. Focus. So I have got a good roll of masking tape here. Regular viewers will know that some of my masking tapes are terrible and don't stick. You need to be able to stick your masking tape to do this technique, otherwise it just won't work. So yeah, we're going to continue with this. I will come back shortly when I've finished doing what I'm doing and show what it looks like when it's all covered over with tape. And then what we'll do is PVA over the top, and then I will also do my toilet roll. Now I'm running out of toilet roll at the moment, so I also need to get some more toilet roll. So yes, I'm going to carry on with this cross mesh kind of whatever I'm doing here, and I'll bring you back when I've got it done and show what it looks like. Well, there we are, entirely covered in masking tape. So what I'm now going to do is, I've just gone and looked and I don't actually have any more toilet roll. So I'm going to make use of the toilet roll that I do have, and going to coat the rest of it just in PVA and let it dry, and I'll try and get some more toilet roll as soon as possible. I don't really want to use the nice stuff that Angela buys for actual use in the toilet. This is the cheapest, nastiest, most horrible on your bottom toilet roll I can find, because it's cheap and all I'm using it for is this kind of thing. And ultimately, giving this a coat of PVA, even without any toilet roll on it, will start to strengthen the structure and toughen it all up, I think. So yeah, get this done, and we'll get all of these to the same level. So the one is, as I stand here right now, the first one has had sand and black paint on it. The second one is still building up layers of toilet roll, and now obviously this one is going to need more toilet roll as well, so I definitely need to buy some more toilet roll. But we're going to have 3 hills done in slightly different techniques, and see see which one we like the best. This so far is looking nice. I really like the shape I've got, and I hope that maybe all of them look good. Anyway, enough rambling, enough nattering. I'll just get this all painted on, then slap some what toilet roll I can on, as I say, and come back later when I've been to the shop and finish it off. There we are. Alright, so these are done and nice and hard, as you can see. However, because I didn't do preventative warping, so I didn't clamp them down, they are warped, this one particularly badly. So we're going to have to do some post-warp fixing, which I much prefer to do. Prevention is better than cure. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to come along, I'm going to paint PVA on the bottom of both of these, and hopefully that will flatten them out. So I'm going to get that done, and then I'll report back. I'll show you what it looks like after they've dried, and then we'll get on to the rest of the painting, and I probably will clamp these down now. I kind of deliberately didn't clamp them, kind of wanted to see whether they would warp and then see whether I could recover it just as part of the experiment. So let's hope that I can. Well, my attempt to unwarp this failed miserably. I've clamped it down just for now, but I'm going to have to do some extra work to recover this. However, what I have done is started putting on the black paint, as you can see. Just put a black undercoat, and I've done the other one as well, the one with the bark on it, and then I'll get the sand on. But what I'm thinking is, having done that, I'm actually going to probably want to recover this before I do any further, because I'm going to end up putting more Papier Mache on to blend it in. So once that's dried, I'll bring you back, and I'll show you how I'm going to go about saving this and making it not be warped when I want to put it on the table. Because if I take these clamps off, and bear in mind I've clamped this, which has held it down some. I mean, it's a lot better than it was when I first clamped it, but you can just see how much that's rocking around, and that's too much. That'd be really annoying on a tabletop. So yeah, so I'll let that dry and then show you how I'm going to save it, which won't take very long. It will delay it a fair bit, but yeah, onwards. I've just gone to look for some material to use to recover this warped base, and I found this base. It's an old, it's a backing from a picture frame. No idea why we've just got the backing and not the frame anymore, but that's what it is. But I'm looking at this and I'm just wondering whether I can't actually save it without having to make use of this material, which could be used for something much more, much better. I don't have any cardboard easily to hand. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to crack on with it without recovering it. So I'm going to clamp it back, clamp this piece back to the board, and continue working on it. And if the warp gets really bad later, or if I get really annoyed at it, then I will try to recover it later on. But for now, I'm just going to leave it as it is. But I thought that's not a wasted clip. You can't always. Sometimes you make a decision and change your mind and stuff when you're making terrain, and it's not the worst thing in the world just to have a quick look at it and explore in your mind what you want to do. So what I'm going to do now is the next step in this process, which is adding the sand on and sealing it in with PVA. So just I won't bother filming because I did that for the first example. What I can say is this technique here has worked really nicely. Didn't need as many layers of the Papier Mache on it, which made it a quicker process to do, and I think actually I really like the way I've got the shape as well. I'm pretty happy with it in its entirety. So yeah, happy enough with this technique. Happy with all of them, but this one uses less material and it's hard, as you can tell. So let's get some sand on it, and then they'll all be at the same level, and then we'll move on to the next step. Right, I've got them all up to the same stage now, where we have the sand on and I've primed them black. Now I'm going to focus on this one, which is the final one I did actually from now on. Well, a little bit on this. I'll focus on this one and on the cliff one, because this one I've done a little bit different. I've added in some different sizes of gravel here and here, just to make it a little bit more varied. And what I'm going to do now is a little bit of a grey dry brush just over the top of that. This is with my darker grey, and this will really bring out the fact that there's rock here. These brushes are getting a bit old. I'm going to need to buy some new ones. They're losing. Oh, it's fallen apart completely. These brushes are quite old, so yeah, I'm going to need to get some more of my dry brushes. Ah, that's annoying. Sod it. Do it without the handle. There we are. Just goes to show just how live this actually is. Yeah, so this will bring out how these rocks look, and what I'll be able to do as well is come in with some lighter greys and then some other colours and really make this pop. And I need to do this before I do the rest of it, because this is helping me to define the edges of where I want it to be rock. Now I'm also going to do a little bit of dry brushing over on this side where I haven't put any, oh goodness me, it's completely falling apart. Yeah, I'm going to do some dry brushing on this side where I haven't put any stones, just to make a little bit of a rock face there. So I will now swap out this one. I'm going to try to, look, it's completely destroyed. Totally. Oh, now the brush is falling out. I think this is officially dead. Look, it's completely destroyed and the brush has fallen out. That one's dead. I'll get another brush and I'll have to buy one. So I'll quickly swap out for this for the cliff face one, and then I'll show you the dry brushing on that. Right, so I've got another brush. Hopefully this one doesn't fall apart on me. And what you can see here is that we have the cliffs, which are done with the bark. So what I'm going to do is come along, and for the dark grey, I actually leave quite a lot of paint on the brush. And I may actually have to go back to that first one and do a little bit more. I'll see how it looks when it dries, because that's a top tip, is this stuff lightens more and more and more the more it dries. So don't fall into the trap of thinking, well, that's not very light, I want it lighter than that, and then slapping loads and loads and loads of paint on, because you'll suddenly end up just with not having any black at all, which is not what you want. You've painted this black for a good reason. And I think actually, having said that, looking at this drying up, I think we might be good. So this is just the first one, obviously. You do want it more than you think, because we're going to bring this up, like I say, with several different colours. But we'll let that settle, and then see how it goes. So I'll bring up the final one, which was the cliff that was done just with Papier Mache. So it won't be a second for that one. Right, so here we have the third and final one. This is the cliff that was done with the Papier Mache, and it's just going to be around this headland here. So once again, coming in with the same grey, the darker grey that I have, and looking at picking out the texture that I sculpted in with the Papier Mache to see how well that works. And once again, don't go too overboard, but do remember that we are going to be dragging this up just from this dark grey to quite a light grey next. So that might be enough. I'll let that settle down and report back if I do any more layers. I'll be back in a very short while to do the next colour. So you can see here what I'm meaning about it lightens up quite a lot. So this is the first one with just the darker grey on it. I've not done any touching up or done any extra painting at all, and it is pretty light already. So I'm coming in now with a slightly lighter grey, and I'm going to do a very light dry brush over the top of this. Again, while you're doing it, it looks like it's making no difference. However, trust me, it is making a difference. Don't get carried away and think, oh, I need to do loads more, because you really don't. So yeah, just a very, very light dry brush on this, just to kind of touch the tops of the edges. I'll do the same thing on all the others, and then we're going to have a look at the the dirt. So we're going to do a brown dry brush over the rest of it. But I'll get the rest of these done with the light grey and bring you back for the dry brush in a second. Just before I get to the dirt, actually, one thing I do like to highlight is how you can make use of different colours. So you've got something really crazy like that bright red, and if you come along and you put it down on your rock, you can really add, and you can see just very gently, you can add some really nice variation. You can put blues and browns and whatever colours you want in, really. And then what you can do is, once you've put some on, maybe get some of this colour here, whatever it is, like an orangey colour, Very, very light though. Should have done the red last really, because it's overpowering everything. There we are. Dry that off on my thing, and then you can just come in, and it's kind of like leopard spotting, and it just adds a lot more interest. And then once you've done this, you can come back over with either a wash, I've done this with washes, or with another dry brush of the grey colour, just to tie it together, and that will really add something to how your build looks. It's a really nice way of making it a little bit more interesting, because rocks are not just grey. I mean, some are, and if that's what you're looking for, then fair enough, but monochrome is a bit boring. So I'm just going to tiger spot on like that. Let that dry, and I'll do the brown before I start before I go back over, and then I'll show you how I do the dry brush to draw it all together at the end. But I'm going to put those little colours across all of my ones. I might do some blues and greens as well, and then we'll get back over to doing the brown for the dirt. Right, so I've got my chocolate brown, and what I'm going to do now is attempt to dry brush it on. It's a little bit of a wet brush, this. I would rather it wasn't quite that strong, but yeah, we're just going to come along and apply this over all of the rest of the model. So I'll get that done, and when I've come to the next step, which is probably going to be toning down the rock faces, I'll turn the camera back on. I do have a Rosie with me who wants to help, but she's just got woken up and isn't in the mood for being recorded. So we're going to put the camera off, and me and her are going to continue with this dry brushing. So just about to start doing this morning, and Rosie woke up, didn't you, love? And you've come upstairs, and we're going to have a play around with some tufts. So Rosie hasn't done tufts before, so here we have the tufts, and let me show you how it works, and then you can help me out. So what we have is some PVA glue, and actually I normally, if you just wait 1 second, I normally use tweezers, because I find it makes it a lot easier, and you're much less likely to end up with a problem. So let me just, yeah, so we use tweezers, we pull it off.
Wow.
Yep, we dip that into the glue like that. And where do you want this one to go, darling?
Here.
There. And then we press it down in, like that. And then we get another one. Oh.
I do not like tweezers. They could bite me.
They could. You could be very careful. Where do you want this one to go? There.
You dropped some.
I did, so I'm going to make use of that. And where do you want this one to go? There. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue placing the tufts. I have other ones over here. I have some tiny ones here, and I have some ones from Geek Gaming here. So we're going to place the tufts all over this and all over the other three, and then we'll come back later on to do the flocking. What do you say to the camera?
Bye.
Bye. What we're going to do now is I'm going to put on my flock. So Rosie's not here. I might try and find her to help a little bit, but she's watching the film, I think, at the moment, so maybe I'll get her involved a bit later on. But we've got the 3 different tubs. I desperately need to make some more flock up. I'm running out quite badly. I say that every time I open these pots. But what we're going to do is basically got my watered down PVA, and I'm going to paint on some PVA, drop the flock around it, and then carry on. So I'll do a little section on camera and do the rest of it off. It's a simple process, very similar to how we do the sand. And once this is dry, then I will paint over the top again with more of the same PVA to seal it. So that's as simple as that. So yeah, take some flock, scatter the flock on. I'm not going to be trying to do a full cover. I want some of the brown to come through. I don't want it to be a golf course. But yeah, just put some different tones. I've basically run out of dark now, so I really need to make some more. Once I've done a bit of this, I might mix some more up. I do have a video, I believe, of how I make this stuff. Can't remember. If I don't, then I'll find out and I'll film it, and it will go onto the channel at some point. But yeah, this is just sawdust mixed with paint and glue and then dried. So yeah, we'll just do this, get it all covered over, and then when that's all covered and dried, then I'll paint the PVA on it again. So yeah, let's get this done. I'll do this for all of them. Like I say, I might get Rosie to help me with one of them, but I'll get all of this done to the same stage and then bring it back. Right, so this should be the final step, but it's not going to be the final step. So what I'm doing now is sealing on over the top of the flock that I put down. And I thought I'd share, just I've done the other two, this is the last one that I'm painting. I thought I'd share just so you can see just how thick. This is watered down PVA, but I don't worry about it looking very white because I know that the PVA I buy does dry transparent no matter how thick or how white it looks right now. Once it's dried, it doesn't even dry shiny at all. So I just thought I'd show that. I have quite a few people I see talking about panicking a little bit because they're not sure that it's going to dry and they've over PVA'd. I use Constructors PVA and it dries totally clear even when it's been applied like this, and I'll prove that to you because you'll get to see it. So I said at the beginning of this clip that this should be the last step, or would normally be the last step in it, and that's true. But Rosie has asked to put some flowers onto these hills, and who am I to deny her? So once this is all dried, hopefully it'll dry quick, so I'll be able to do it tomorrow because she's off school tomorrow as well. Yeah, once this is dried, then we'll be back for one final thing, and me and Rosie will be applying tufts, flower tufts, onto these hills. And I think it's a really nice idea. I don't often put flowers on my hills, but it will look nice, and it certainly won't spoil it. So anyway, so I'm going to keep painting and then leave these to dry. And then once, as I say, they're dry, I'll be back for that last final special Rosie touch. And yeah, pretty pleased that she's hobbying with me again. And this is a cool project to work with her on. So it's the next day, maybe around 12 hours later, maybe a bit less. And as you can see, it is pretty much entirely dried and cleared. And if we look down, apologies for the drill in the background, if we look down on the floor where I'm storing them, the far one's almost entirely done, and this one has very, very little left to dry. So you can see just how nicely it does dry, and even with how thick I slapped all of that PVA on, there's just a little bit left in those little dips where it sadly gathered. You can avoid that if you pay a little bit more attention when I was asleep, but I could have come along earlier with a little bit of toilet roll or tissue paper, and I can soak that up just to take some of it away. As you can see, it's better to do that while it's gathering, but as I say, I was asleep, so I wasn't able to react to that. But you can come along and kind of like soak up the excess if you need to. Anyway, Rosie turned up first thing this morning asking to do the flowers, but I need to wait for this all to dry before I can do it, so she is very, very keen on that as well. So we'll be back with the flowers very shortly, hopefully. So I've got Rosie with me, and we are about to put flowers on our hills. So we have a big selection just down here out of shot. And what's going to happen is Rosie is going to say which flower she wants. I'm going to get my tweezers, pick them up, and then I've got glue over here on a plate, and then we'll stick them in place, won't we? So which one do you want first? That one. So she's picked a nice big orange clump. Wait a second, there we are, and you want that to go there. Right, so we put this into the glue. And you want to go there, yeah?
Yeah.
Don't mind yourself, out of the way of the camera. Don't get around. There it is, so that's that one. Right, so pick another one. This is actually a strip. So where do you want the strip to go? How about across the top there?
Yes, that's what I was going to do.
Yeah. So we'll put that one. Oh. They're a bit awkward to work with sometimes. Right, there we are. And we'll put it there.
So, no.
There we are. So now I'm going to pick one. I'm going to pick a tuft of purple. And I'm going to put that here.
That's what I was going to tell you.
Good. And we're going to get another tuft of purple.
And then
We'll do different colours in a second. I need to make this look natural, or as natural as I can. So there. And then one more purple one.
I like one of
Okay, don't whine.
What?
I said don't whine. Right, and you want one of the readier ones, do you?
Yeah.
I've got 2 by accident, so you can get into. How's that?
Yeah.
And then one more. You want one of these?
Yeah. One more.
This is the last one that's going on this one.
But I said only 5.
And we've got plenty. We've got far more than 5 on there now. Right, so we're going to work away on the other hills, but let's get a bit of a zoom in on the lovely flowers. Lean back, Roo.
But we have to do some of all of them on.
Not all of them, no. That's all we're going to do on this one. We'll do some more on the next hill. Say bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm going to try and keep her desire to put flowers over everything under control here. Good girl. Oh, that was a lot of fun. Of course, he ended up with far more flowers and totally scattered all over the hillsides. But I don't care, because Rosie had fun and I had fun working with Rosie, and hobbying with Rosie is one of my greatest joys. And now whenever I look at these, I'll know Rosie and me worked on these together. And I'll look at the flowers and they'll put a smile on my face. So this is obviously just one of them. The other 2 are, as is traditional, down on the floor over here. And as you can see, we have flowers. So yeah, brilliant. So I think that's pretty much done in terms of the construction. Next thing I'm going to have to do, which I won't have time to do now, but the next thing I'm going to need to do is cut them out of the other cardboard, see just how warped it is, and see whether I'm going to need to do something to actually finalise the base, which I think I might have to do. So that'll just make this a little bit more of an interesting, just finishing that project off. But for now, I'm going to leave those all to set and dry, and say the next thing will be cutting them out and then seeing whether I need to rebase them. Right, so I just recorded a lovely clip and hadn't turned my microphone on. I'm not blaming it to the battery, I just hadn't turned it on. So anyway, so what I'm doing is I'm just cutting this out, basically just using the sharp knife, as you can see, to kind of go around the edge. I'm not too worried about trying to save the bits of cardboard which I'm cutting out. They are unfortunately just going to have to go into the bin. But yeah, the first one I cut, which was the largest one, doesn't need any saving or any rebasing, but then that was the one that I preemptively clamped down to prevent warping. This one I've saved, I think. We'll find out once it's fully been cut out, just by putting PVA on the back, which is good. And I'm not sure about the third one. But this isn't the easiest thing to do, and it's a bit of an annoying noise, I'm sure. So I won't film all of the process here. I just thought I'd show you how I was doing it, and I would express the emotion that I'm really pleased with these hills, and doubly so because Rosie was involved. I didn't start this project thinking that Rosie would help on it. She hasn't expressed interest, and I'm not going to force her to help me if she doesn't want to, but she saw them and she asked them. She actually asked she actually was most interested in them when they were white, and kept asking if we could paint them white again. So there we are. So maybe I'll have to do some winter or some Arctic scenery at some point for Rosie. But anyway, I'm going to keep cutting these out. I'll cut the other one out, and I will come back when they're all done, show what they look like. So here we are, I've got them cut out. So this one here was the one that I have managed to save. It's got the very slightest of wobbles, but that's not going to be a problem at all. So I'm very happy about that. This one is definitely worse. When you lean down on this one, I mean, I can fit my little finger underneath it. It's worse, but I'm not sure it's bad enough that I'm going to worry about saving it for now. So I'm going to wrap this video up as it is here, and yeah, I'm so pleased with the technique. It's worked so well, and the results are lightweight, hard wearing. I'm just going to bring the larger one over, and they just look great and very, very cheap. I'm particularly pleased, having said about being cheap, that just doing the framework and sticking masking tape over the top, which I did on this one, the reason it's warped is my fault for not clamping it down, because prevention is much better than cure. But with that warping, that's just brilliant, being able to just do the framework, put tape over the top, and then cover it with a couple of layers of papier mache, because that was only 2 layers I did on that, 2 or 3 max. It's quick, it's cheap, it's hard enough, and it looks great. I mean, it's such a lovely organic shape. You would never really get that shape with foam because you'd have to sit there for ages carving it out. You just wouldn't bother. But I've managed to get little steps, and it just looks like a hill would look. It's brilliant. If you look at it from here, you can see where, I mean, there's access up here, there's access up here, there's access up here. You could even put like a rope ladder down here if you wanted to. It's got a really lovely organic shape, and the flowers, even though they're more than I would have put on, they really do add something to it. So I'm really, really happy. So there we are. So that's 100% cardboard hills. This has got some wood on it, but 100% cardboard and cheap or free materials. And yeah, great success indeed. So thank you to, what was his name? The guy that, one of the new guys on the TCU Discord was the one that kind of like inspired me for this. Your Old Memes, that's it, Your Old Memes. Thanks to Your Old Memes again for the comment that prompted me to build these. I've had a lot of fun, and that's just been great. So yeah, wrap that up. Project done. Well, there we are. What fun that was, and really good output, I think. Really good outcome. I do wish I'd been a bit more careful in avoiding the warping of the bases, but I do have other videos. They are linked in the description of this video for how to solve warping, which I could have done, but yeah, there was no point in repeating that. They look really great, those, and it was such fun doing that with Rosie. I love hobbying with her. I am now recording this outro after everything's kicked off and it's all gone wrong, and she's not here anymore, unfortunately, but she still is very sad when she knows I've hobbied and I've not hobbied with her. Whenever I tell her I've hobbied, her reaction is, "Oh, I wasn't there," which is kind of bittersweet, and I'm really looking forward to hopefully do some hobby with her when she visits. So we can, fingers crossed, you'll be able to see her again and she'll be able to do some more building with me at some point. Anyway, didn't mean to say that just kind of slipped out. I'm thinking about it a lot right now. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If this has inspired you to do something a bit different, use some different materials, it just goes to show what you can achieve without using special materials. Just a bit of cardboard, a bit of screwed up newspaper, and a bit of toilet roll and glue, and you're rocking and rolling. So yeah, hopefully that's been inspirational. I'll wrap up by saying, as I always do, thank you very much for watching, and please do stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well.